Oh, ha, ha, ha. Uh, say it with me now. You know it's coming. This fucking team. This fucking team. And getting too old for this shit. The Knicks win. Thank the good Lord. The Knicks won this game. I don't. Yeah. After the last however many days it's been. How long ago was the Bulls game? It seems like it's been like a month ago, but I think it was like last week, or a week and a half, whatever it was. I did not have another one of these in me to lose another one. I didn't have it in me. I don't think I would have just come on here and would have been a live stream laced with many an expletive and probably some tears. But alas, here we are with a win against, by net rating at least, the worst team in the league. Although they have one win for every two losses, so say that for them. This is not the whatever, the process Sixers or the Bobcats of whatever year they were tanking for Anthony Davis. It's and that's honestly that's the way I want to start this post game, which is to say, like, yes, they needed a 24-second violation from the Spurs. Look, they forced that 24-second violation, and then they forced a non-attempt by them as time ran out. They didn't get a 3-ball up, and that's a credit to their defense. But the game needed to come down to those two plays. Yes, in part because the Knicks did not play their best ball tonight. And we'll talk about some of the players that maybe did not have their best games and why perhaps some of those players did not have their best games. But give credit where credit is due. The Spurs, I don't think they missed a runner or a floater or a mid-range shot tonight. Like, those are, and it's not just the Knicks, those are the shots that every NBA defense is designed to give up because you can't take away everything. And the Knicks gave up a lot of those shots. And guess what? The Spurs hit a lot of those shots. And some Spurs in particular had some very nice games. Keldon Johnson and Josh Richardson in particular was 9 of 14 for 20 points. Keldon Johnson had a very nice game. But, like, were there a couple of the usual bugaboos that bite the Knicks in the ass? Yeah, there were probably, of the Spurs 11 threes, there were maybe a handful where you had to shake your head, whether it was a slight coverage breakdown or someone doesn't get out or whatever the case may be, confusion. But for the most part, I thought they defended the three well. They gave up a lot of the shots in the mid-range. Like I said, pretty much every one of them went in. And then around the rim, I think the biggest reason, arguably, why this game was close is because it's yet another piece of evidence to prove why, and I'm burying the lead. I'm going to talk about Jalen Brunson in a second, but I want to get this out of the way. It's another piece of evidence to prove how important a fully engaged and a version of Mitchell Robinson who executes is vital to this team. And this is one of those games where Mitchell Robinson did not execute. He played 13 minutes. He didn't foul out, but he had 5 fouls. And like Tibbs went with Sims down the stretch because Mitch was he was playing scared by the end, playing scared of getting his 6th foul. And it's amazing what that does when you don't have that version of Mitch, because it is so much of the Knicks defense is dependent on him being the best version of himself. They did not have that tonight, which I think contributed to why this was a game that, went down the stretch. And also, we should say, RJ Barrett is still out. Like, these having 48 minutes, 11 minutes, he was 1 of 5 from the field. He hit one of those 2 free throws. I mean, thank God for that. At the end down the stretch, that's not ideal either. I mean, Cam Reddish apparently doesn't exist anymore, which I differ from some people on that. I don't mind that he's not playing. When you're out, you're out. But, like, they're thin, and RJ's not there, and Mitch wasn't great. So, like, is it that egregious that they were in a game against the Spurs until the end? No, it's not that egregious. Thankfully, we had a guy by the name of Jalen Brunson. Plus 13 in this game, in a game the Knicks won by 3. Played 40 minutes, which by my powers of deduction leads me to believe that they were a minus 10 in the minutes that he sat, which is that's Deuce's number. He was awesome. He was not perfect. He was not perfect, but he was awesome. He had 4 turnovers, which is one of his higher numbers of the season, to 6 assists. 7 rebounds, though. He was firing away from 3, especially in the early portion of this game. Ended up making 17 field goals. I'm sure we know that 38 is his regular season career high. I wonder how many games in his life he's come close to hitting 17 field goals in a game. Only took 3 free throws and missed 2 of them. That's a bit of an annoying thing. But thank God for Jalen Brunson. Chalk another one up. I know Kevin Danishevsky loves when I do this. Chalk another one up on the board of we do not win this game without Jalen Brunson. Figures just as me and Benji have a big Julius Randle deserves to be on the All-Star team pod, just as I have a big newsletter. Julius Randle deserves to be on the All-Star team. Jalen Brunson comes up and reminds everybody, like, hey, maybe I should be the Knicks All-Star if they only get one this season. He's been awesome. He's been awesome, and he was awesome tonight, so thank goodness for him. I think until the Fournier free throws, I looked it up, from the 8:40 mark of the fourth quarter until those Fournier free throws at the very end of the game, Jalen Brunson either scored every point or assisted on every basket for an 8-minute stretch in the fourth quarter. I get he's missed some big free throws this year. I get he's had some game winners that he's missed. But, like, I can't say that a guy isn't a clutch player or doesn't come up big in clutch situations or in big fourth quarters when he has a fourth quarter performance like that, when his team, whether they should or they shouldn't have, absolutely needed it. So, great job by Jalen Brunson. Julius Randle, funky Julius Randle game. He was over-reliant on the threes. I had the stat in the newsletter today and on the pod that since November 29th, Julius Randle has taken more threes than anybody in the league. You could extend that stat for another couple of days because he took 8 tonight. Unfortunately, he only made 1. It wasn't going down for him. Inside the arc, he was great for pretty much the entire game. I thought he got a little tired there towards the end of the fourth quarter, especially. Played 41 minutes. The guy's been playing a ton of minutes in general. I'm not going to get on Julius Randle for maybe relying a little bit too much on the 3, for maybe, again, a missed closeout. I thought he made some outstanding defensive plays in this game. He had the chase down, kind of like a chase down block on a fast break. He had another play that prevented a basket in transition. He attempted a steal there in the fourth quarter that resulted in a out of bounds play that ended up being the Knicks ball. Like, the effort is there on defense. Like, Julius Randle's not going to play any better than this on defense. So was it Julius's best game? No. And yet we're sitting here, we're talking about 25 points on 26 shots. Okay. 13 rebounds, 3 steals, 4 blocks, 3 assists, and 5 turnovers. We're at the point where we could say, like, oh, that's not really a great Julius game. It shows you how far Julius has come this season. So I'll kind of spin that as a compliment to Julius. I thought Immanuel Quickley was really good. And let's, again, give credit where credit is due. Whatever, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, perfectly fine stat line. Played 44 minutes, and I don't believe he came off the floor in the second half. Think about that. Immanuel Quickley, who's a guy that many people have been yelling and screaming, play Quickley more minutes, play Quickley more minutes. Well, guess what? Over the course of the last however many games since RJ Barrett has been out, I'm pretty sure Immanuel Quickley is leading the league in minutes, and if he's not leading the league in minutes, he's damn close. Like, to play the entire second half with that level of defense that he plays, and again, doesn't take anything off the table, especially on a night like tonight. Okay, he was 1 of 5 from deep. Would you love him to hit another one of those threes? Yeah, it would make his stat line so much cleaner because then it goes to 2 of 5 from deep and 7 of 13 from the field and 18 points on 13 shots. He's just fallen short of where we want him to be, where we need him to be efficiency-wise. I'm not killing him for that either. Again, 44 fucking minutes. And I guess let's close by shouting out Jericho Sims. The guy who replaced Mitch at the end of the game deserved to. He was a better player tonight. Reminded me of a lot of games we saw from Jericho Sims last season. He's a good player. And, I haven't mentioned Obi yet. Obi was theoretically back tonight, but Tibbs said he was situational. There were a couple of tweets that were clarifying that after the fact. Obi Toppin is going to be back in the rotation with the second unit when he gets some practices under his belt, whether that's in 2 days or in 4 days, whatever. We'll see. And Jericho Sims is probably going to be out of the rotation other than games like this, where like Mitch is in foul trouble and maybe Hartenstein, who has not been that effective this season in the role the Knicks have him playing in. I'm not going to say through no fault of his own, but because there's some fault, certainly. But like, whatever. It's not an ideal situation. So we're probably not going to see much of Sims from here on in. And that's a shame because he's a good player. Does he still have work to do? Does he still have room to grow and to learn and the whole thing? Yes. But like, I want to end by shouting out Jericho Sims. Not sure they win this game without him. They made some nice plays down the stretch. So good job by him. All right. That's it. I'm fucking spent. I am spent after that. Thank God they got a win. And hey, let's enjoy the good while we can enjoy the good. I will end by saying this. Guess who's in sixth place in the Eastern Conference? Your New York Knicks. Got the tiebreaker over Indiana, and they're half game up on Miami for a little while at least. Miami plays the Lakers later tonight. Okay. We have some leftover super chats from the last game that came in after we signed off or that we may have inadvertently missed. So we're going to start with those to get us going. Busy, thank you as always. Do I subscribe to the theory that Randle only plays well every other year? If so, trade Rambo by the summer. I do and I would. Yeah, we'll get more into Randle trade stuff probably before the end of this episode. I do not subscribe to that theory. I subscribe to the theory right now that Julius Randle plays really well with Jalen Brunson. And yet, if they find the right trade for him, they should make the right trade. Jessica, thank you for this. I think I figured it out. The beer, the weirder rotations, the strange pre- and post-game comments. Someone gave Tibbs weed gummies. They are legal in New York City, and I, for one, am here for stoner Tibbs. Listen, the Knicks, can we have quibbles? Yes. We can have quibbles. There are always quibbles. Even going back to the last game, keeping the starters out there past the 40-minute mark, and then tonight Julius Randle looked gassed. Like, that's a Tibbs thing. It is. It just is. And there are other things. Like, there are those who feel like in a game like this or in a stretch like this where RJ is out, like, hey, give Cam a shot. Perfectly fair and reasonable to use a KFS post-game term. And all the other things that people usually complain about with him. It's all fair. And yet, he's adjusted a lot this year. He's done a lot of things that people have asked for him to do. And he is the coach of a team that after 39 games is in sixth place in the Eastern Conference. They're 21-18. It's so yeah, maybe it's the weed gummies. We'll see. And then this one from Dom Cappuccini, our last one left over from the last game. Go New York, go New York, go commercial is really catching on with my 3-year-old daughter, proud father. I love that they're bringing that song back because I loved that song. I still have the little mini poster or like the sign that they gave out. I probably got it at an old playoff game up on my other wall that I'm looking at right now. Yeah, good job. Good job raising your daughter that way. Oh, wait, no, there's one more. This also from Dom Cappuccini. Thank you again for the generous contribution left over from last game. Not trying to get ahead of myself, but with teams' advanced stats and Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson own stats, the Knicks are one big run away from the two of them being seriously considered for the All-Star game equally. Well, you took the words right out of my mouth from the opening here. A few people maybe in Twitter comments or newsletter comments reached out today and were like, hey, do you think Jalen Brunson still has a chance? I do think Jalen Brunson still has a chance. Voting is open until I think early February. So you got another month to go, month and change. Like, if Brunson goes on a stretch and again, I'm not saying this will happen. They play two very tough games coming up against Toronto and Milwaukee. Like, this team could be back at 500 in no time, and God knows they probably will. Again, 500 is a magnet for this team. Shout out Benji and Joe Flynn. But if they do go on a run and they like solidify themselves in sixth and like those guys keep putting up the numbers, maybe RJ's out for a little while and they keep winning despite that, like, it would help their case. I would put a very low percentage on it, though. That's what I'll say. Although, again, great game from Brunson tonight. and he's still in it. Let's say for sure. Thank you belatedly for those. For this post game, we start off with Robert Cross. First time, long time, John. Another easy win. Do you think the Knicks should trade a couple seconds for a better T-shirt cannon? Hashtag 53 wins. I will. I'm going to flip your comment around. I'm going to do something that's going to aggravate you. Again, it's not completely fair because they're missing 40 minutes a night of their third or fourth best player, whatever you want to rank RJ, fifth, maybe. I get whatever. It's RJ, it's Grimes, and it's Quickley. Like those three guys, they have different strengths. They have different things that they bring to the team. They're missing a vital piece, right? They're missing a vital piece to their puzzle right now, who plays 40 minutes a night. And so what we're seeing right now from the second unit isn't altogether fair, but like, my Lord, are they struggling? And Obi coming back will also help that a little bit. But like, if there's a trade out there, we've been talking about it on the pod. Like, are they going to maybe put one of these protected firsts on the table? If they could get something for 2 seconds, a guy who will come in and be a meaningful part of their rotation, even if it's only for 15 minutes a night. Oh boy, I have a tough time seeing them passing that up. But we'll see. Thanks, Robert, for getting us started off. Hannibal Miles, Randle Defensive Player of the Year, LOL. JK, but much improved. Yeah, like the things that he doesn't do great, he's never going to do great. Like he's never going to be a guy who makes every rotation perfectly and like closes out perfectly on every opportunity to close out. But like, my Lord, do you see the difference when he is fully engaged and active? And like, again, that's why I really do want to give him a lot of credit tonight, because he was gassed and he left it all out there on the defensive end. I felt like watching him. So good job by him. Thanks, Hannibal. Appreciate that. Next up, Will Oliver. What's going on, Will? A win is a win, but we probably deserve to lose that one. So I was thinking about this again. Someone in my newsletter comments was talking about this earlier today. Like, they've lost a bunch of games they could have won. So again, just off the top of my head, the Bulls game, the Mavs game, the Raptors game, the Bucks game, the Grizzlies game. There might be one I'm forgetting, but those are 5. They haven't won any of them. Has there been a game this year that you're like, oh, we probably deserved to lose that one, but we won it anyway? I'm not sure there is. And for that reason, Andrew's texting me with a reminder. Oh, the Grizzlies game on opening night. Oh, and the Blazers game. The Blazers game. Did I not say the Blazers game? I don't think I said the Blazers game. I meant to say the Blazers game. I think I said something else inadvertently. Whatever. Throw in the second Memphis Grizzlies game. So 5 or 6 games. How about that? Maybe 7. I don't feel like there's a game that they've won that they really didn't deserve to win up until maybe tonight. So like, I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'm just not going to feel bad about it. Yeah, I said the ball. There is a lot. Kevin, what's going on, Kev? Kevin Danishevsky. Last year, we don't win this game. Last year, they didn't win a lot of these games. Last year, we don't have Brunson. In this case, correlation equals causation. Good line by you. We knew the length would bother us. Thought Quentin Grimes and IQ were solid. Yeah, I didn't shout out Grimes to start. That's a bad job by me. I thought Grimes played a good game. Played a ton of minutes. Played good defense. A couple of mishaps, but by and large, very good defense. Again, the shots that Josh Richardson and Keldon Johnson were hitting, and Trey Jones, I feel like Trey Jones hit a bunch of little floaters there that also were like, again, you give up those shots, and he just they all made every one of them. Shot pretty well from the free throw line. Like, all of the things happened that, need to happen for a team like the Spurs to beat a team like the Knicks. even though they weren't fully healthy. Okay. Thanks, Kev. Appreciate that. Greg Moran, thank you for the very generous contribution. Sheesh, nothing is easy. Jalen Brunson is so cool. Thank goodness for this dude. Money well spent. I'm a shameless plug for anybody who is watching and has ever thought about getting subscribed to our Patreon. We do a bonus pod every week that we talk about the general NBA. This is one we've been trying to schedule for over a month, and we're finally doing it on Thursday night. Godspeed that nothing gets in our way. Me and Benji are going to do a point guard draft. So we're going to basically pick the top. I think we do top 20, although we may extend it a little bit. We'll definitely go through some honorable mentions. And it's point guards. So it's positional drafts, doing point guards, recording it tomorrow night. I don't know exactly where Jalen Brunson ends up. Is he a top 10 point guard in the league? He's right there. He's right there. He's got to be right there. He's got to be right there. Has to be. He's really good. Really talented dude. He's been great this year. Forgotten NYC. What's going on? On vacay, saw the ending. Unnecessary stress. LOL. You could say that again. I did not need. I mean, for anybody watching on playback knows, I was a mess in the fourth quarter. The second that it hit me that this was going to be a game down the stretch, I was like, I don't need this shit. Goodness gracious. Kevin with another one. Congrats on winning the week. Yeah. Oh, so yes. And shout out to Jeremy. He said on the playback, he didn't want to win this week. He picked 1 and 2. I took 2 and 1, and I won the week. So that takes me, I believe, to 4 and 7. If I could somehow get to 5 and 7 before the midway point of the season, or roughly at the midway point of the season, I'll feel pretty good about my chances going into the second half. So I'm happy about that. And to celebrate, what am I drinking tonight? We're popped open another bottle of the Matrice Pinot Noir. Nice, delicious French Pinot Noir. It's a 2020 bottle. Definitely needed to pop open something to get me through the end of this game. That's for sure. Shout out to my friends at One Bev. Thanks, Kev. Requiem Gaming, The Remnant, Alex. Hashtag Claudio curse is broken. 13 and 5 is still possible. So, Andrew, you want to pop in for half a second? What do you need to go now to go 13 and 5?
So
7 and 0, 8 and 0,
9 and 0,
9 and 0,
9 and 0. They're 4 and 5 since I said. Let's just forget the actual context of what I actually said. The 13.
No. We should not.
They're 4 and 5. Well, no, because the actual context is me saying if they went something like 13 and 5, then you'd probably get Brunson and Julius in the All-Star game.
You
but
put
no,
it into existence.
What I actually said was that, damn it, I'm predicting Joe Namath guaranteed 13 and 5. And you're right, Alex. It's still in play. So there we go.
Just because I thought to pull it up. Next couple of games here. Going to Toronto, who just lost to Milwaukee at home. They fall to 16 and 22. We owe them one. I'm not sure I feel great about it, even though they could not score at all tonight. And then after that, we face the team that just beat Toronto at home, the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis has been playing like an MVP. The rest of the team has not been playing great. And then to talk about a dicey game, Indiana at home. Indiana blew one to Philly tonight without Embiid. Again, they're going to have some extra motivation after the Zerbiak comments. So I'll tell you right now, going into that stretch, there's a part of me that's like, man, can they get one? Can I sign for 1 win guaranteed? 2 would be great. I think I'd probably sign for 1 because then the schedule lightens up a little bit, and then it gets hard again, and then we're at the trade deadline. So it's all leading up to the trade deadline because we got to see what does this team feel compelled to do? What do they feel like they need to do? What do they feel like they could do to maybe position themselves a certain way going into the last 30, 35 games? We'll see. Andrew, sick of Tibbs showing up his players. I don't know how Tibbs showed up his players. How did he show up as players? You're gonna have to commend me on that. This is one of those comments, and he's mentioning IQ 46 minutes. Like they needed him. They needed him. Yeah, I don't know what that means. So I'm just gonna move on. Sorry. He's the coach of a 21-18 team. I don't know what else to say. YouTube user. Hey, John, why do you think Quinn Snyder is up to right now? I have no idea, and I don't really care. It's amazing. I know every fan base does this, but it just always does amaze me that we get it here so vehemently. Juanon, good win. We probably lose this if Brunson was still out. Yes, we do. Sad but true. Guy is really not the smartest player on the floor. He's always the smartest player on the floor, you know? And they need that because they don't always have players who, especially in crunch time situations, think the game at the highest level. So yeah, it's vital. Am I the only one who could see a lot of Aaron Gordon and Jericho Sims? I mean, they play different positions, but and Aaron Gordon Aaron Gordon is he's an all defense candidate. We have a long way to go before Sims is there, but again, he's a young player. Is it nuts? No, it's not nuts. Nothing's nuts. Yeah. Ryan Huang, what's going on, Ryan? A win is a win, baby. Hashtag JB is him. And the impenetrable wall of Jericho gave us a fun night at the Garden. The impenetrable wall of Jericho. I like that. You would have hated it here, Macri. Let's go Knicks, baby. I'm happy you were there to see that in person, I think. Should I be happy you were there to see that in person? Again, a win is a win. I've learned, don't take anything for granted. Enjoy the wins. Enjoy the success. There's enough legitimate shit out there to complain about than to complain about wins when you're a team that doesn't have one of those guys that you could just put the game on their shoulders and say, go win us the game, or two of those guys like some teams in this league have. The Knicks don't have those guys. They have guys that are, vague approximations of those sorts of players, but they got to earn it. And they've earned it this season more than they haven't. So credit to them for that. Thanks, Ryan. Chris Carter, what's going on, Chris? Most annoying win of the year. Yeah. Yeah, the last Detroit game might come close. But it's up there. There were a few times in the first half I thought the Knicks were going to run the Spurs out of the gym. Is it a matchup thing? I think the matchup has something to do with it, and I think the fact that the Spurs just made a lot of tough shots has something to do with it. And that, again, I hate to bash him, but Mitch being this version of Mitch tonight, it just really hurts them when a guy that they need for 28 to 32 minutes a game at his best, it helps him. So, I mean, the plus minus says it all. Mitch means so much to this team. And when you get this version of Mitch, plus the team's hitting shots, plus it is a kind of a bad matchup, add it all up, and that's why we end up where we are. But yeah, I had the same thought too, and it was disappointing they couldn't win this one easily, but what do you do? It's okay. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. Brian Less, what's going on, Brian? Name your most lopsided trade of all time. I'll start. Jalen Brunson for a 2025 second rounder. How did we ever watch this team without him? We did it last year, and it fucking was painful. It was utterly painful. I think the better question is the year before. And there's maybe when I'm old and I have all the time in the world on my hands and I've watched all the movies I want to watch and read all the books I want to watch, I will take time and I will go back and rewatch a lot of the 2021 season to figure out how the hell we do that. I mean, I guess, no, I know how we did that. We had Derrick Rose playing like a top 15 point guard on that team. He was playing 26, 27 minutes a night. So that helped a lot. I mean, they were plus 10 with him on the court, and I think they got outscored with him off the court. So here's the moral of the story. We're an NBA team. Having a point guard helps a lot. That's it. That's all it comes down to. Thanks, Bri. Hamdy M, what's going on, Hamdy? The Spurs team has got some players. I agree. They got this Spurs team isn't I really don't think that they're ideally suited for tanking. Because if you look up and okay, they have one guy in Jeremy Sohan who's talented, but is a rookie and makes rookie mistakes, but is talented and he could do some things. He freaking stole the ball from Julius Randle in the backcourt. That was more on Randle, but okay, put him aside. Pirtle, he's a solid starting center. Keldon Johnson, the dude just got paid $80 million. He's a solid starting NBA wing. Josh Richardson, as he showed tonight, could be a really, really good NBA wing when he's hitting shots. Doug McDermott, we were talking about it on the playback. I was asking Benji, is this a guy who could get rotation minutes for a contender or a borderline contender? And I think it's at least a question whether he can. And he was good tonight. He was 5 of 7 from the field. Zach Collins, fucking dude, was 6 of 6 from the field tonight. High pedigree kid. Injuries have always gotten the best of him. He was healthy and he was they have guys. It's just they don't really have a number 1, a number 2, and depending on what you think of Keldon Johnson, probably not a number 3 either. But then again, the Knicks don't have a traditional number 1 or really even a number 2 at this point. So it's and they're missing RJ. So that again, I'm not going to feel bad about this loss or this win. Freudian slip. Oh, wait, put that back up, Andrew. I didn't finish reading the rest of that comment. I'm sorry. I was going off on a tangent. JB is a beast. Mitch being in foul trouble was a killer. Hashtag getting too old for this. Yes. Thanks, Andy. Danny, what's going on, Danny? Good to get the W. Some bad Julius Randle possessions at the end, yes. But Brunson was nails. Zach Collins has the most hittable face in the NBA. You're so right about that. Is that a thing that's out there, or did you just make that up? Because if you just made that up, that's amazing.
I gotta push back. Grayson Allen exists.
Yeah, but that's because he's a prick.
What?
If you're just looking at the face, I think it's Zach Collins.
I agree to disagree. If NBA tomorrow says you can have one punch,
well, that's
or one hit, whatever.
It's different because Grayson Allen's a dirty player. And he has a hittable face.
He has a hittable face. And so as a result, there are other players that are dirty that I'm not because of your face, I want to hit you.
To be clear, we are not advocating violence on the Knicks Film School.
No. Okay, sorry, we got it. To be clear, this is a hypothetical scenario where I would never actually advocate for violence against another player in the NBA. Legal, do what you have to do with that.
Legal. Yes. The KFS legal team. Hatch2, Brunson is the GOAT. Grimes is Defensive Player of the Year. That is all. I wonder if Grimes ends up getting an all-defense vote. I don't think so. I think if there's a Knick who gets an all-defense vote, it's going to be Mitch. Be curious to see how many he gets. He needs to play the rest of the season. I'll say that. Can't really miss much more time. Porter Carroll. I don't have a chat for you, but yeah, shout out to our legal counsel, Weiss and Rosenblum. Speaking of Weiss and Rosenblum, call them today at 212-366-6100 or visit them, weissandrosenblum.com, for more information. Good friends, great personal injury attorneys. Speaking of personal injuries, not against hitting anybody in the face or any of that nonsense, but I'll be curious to see how long the Obi situational thing happens, because he's back now. His personal injury has ended. His watch has ended. There's a part of me that would not be shocked if Obi sat out on Friday because they have the full weekend and they'll get into practice over the weekend for sure. I would not be surprised if Obi was back in the rotation on Monday. That is my fearless prediction. We'll see if it comes true. Forgotten NYC with another one. Just me, but Jalen Brunson could be, oh my goodness, a super dark horse MVP candidate. I can't get there this year. It is just you. But I get the vibes where you would go there. I get the vibes for sure. If If you told me the MVP candidate, MVP field expanded to 10 and this was like any other year other than this one, I would maybe be willing to smoke what you're selling there. With this MVP field, like barring anything crazy, one of Ja Morant, Steph Curry, Devin Booker, or Donovan Mitchell is going to finish 10th. That's the sort of MVP race that we're dealing with. Think about that for a second. Toughest MVP race in history as far as I'm concerned. Danny Gardner with another one. I think IQ found something with that step back jumper, by the way. I thought, thank you for bringing him up because some big baskets inside the arc. He was only 1 of 5 from deep. But I thought, just like in the Phoenix game early in the fourth quarter, I did think for as much as that they had a big lead that whole game, he had a couple baskets early in the fourth quarter. I thought felt big in the moment to like make sure as Phoenix was getting notions of getting back into that game, like stemming that. And then tonight he had a couple big baskets in the fourth quarter that just he's playing very, 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 very much within himself. And like it's a ton of minutes he's playing. Tibbs, that's a sign. That's the ultimate sign of respect, I think, from Tibbs, because right now Quickley's a guy. Other than the fact that he's still a little inconsistent from deep, he's really not taking anything off the table, and credit to him for that. He's really good. Julius Randle tonight said on him putting up 4 blocks, I was garbage, so I had to do something. I do love. I love it. Good job by you, Randle. He wasn't garbage. Dylan Chop Charles, what's going on, Dylan? Yo, J-Mac, long-time listener, first-time donator. We appreciate you. Thank you for contributing. Welcome aboard. On tonight's forgotten play, at 2:56 in the fourth, Jalen Brunson's layup, a Randle stop, and the Spurs calling timeout right after. Sequence of events kept the Spurs at bay. Yes, 100%. That was, Jalen Brunson had several big buckets down the stretch. I like that as a forgotten play. Again, Randle, for as much as his defense is never going to be perfect, there were really 3, 4, maybe 5 standout plays tonight that I thought were difference-making plays in the game. Nothing empty calories about his defensive plays tonight that were big. So good job by you pointing that out. And again, welcome aboard. Thanks for the contribution. Sean Ford, Josh Richardson, low-key wing trade target. Looked great. I don't know that I want to get into the Josh Richardson business at this point. He's a guy you could get for a couple seconds. I know that. Although I would imagine they'd probably want to dump Fournier's contract in that deal, which might cost them a little bit more. I don't know. Here's the thing. If there's a team that has kind of like figured a way around guys that aren't thought of as traditional three-point shooters, it's the Knicks. Although their solution to that has just been to have guys who aren't traditional three-point shooters just fire up a ton of threes. See Julius Randle, see Jalen Brunson firing up more threes than he ever has in his career. See RJ Barrett, he taken 5.5, 6 threes per 36 minutes. And they have other guys too, like, Quickley, Grimes, and McBride. Like, look, is it a crazy name? No, it's not a crazy name. He's a good basketball player. That dude was a borderline all-star at one point in time. That said, I'm not sure. He's a wing. He's a two-way. He's a two-way wing. Gonna think about that one for a bit, Sean. Hadn't thought of that. I don't think it's nuts. That's my initial reaction. I don't think it's nuts. JG, what's going on, JG? Spurs trade to bolster the Knicks bench. Who would fit? Well, Richardson's a good one. I'll never quit Dougie McBuckets. I love Doug McDermott. I think he's just a reliable shooter, and again, the question, and shout out to Benji, this was his assessment on the playback. It's like, can you keep him on the floor defensively? And like, part of me is like, Evan Fournier can't get minutes for this team when they have a healthy rotation. Like, would a guy like Doug McDermott? I don't know about that. Richardson would be the guy. I mean, Keldon Johnson's a wonderful player. I can't imagine they would have any interest in trading him. So, yeah, Richardson's the guy, I guess, if there's someone. Busy, what's going on, Busy? How you doing? Play the game, Mitch Step. Let's go, ISO Mitch. I don't know if I need any more of that, man. Man, Mitchell Robinson, what a human being. Pluckster, what's going on, Pluckster? Agree or disagree? If Obi's agent wasn't CAA and maybe related to Leon, they tell him his best path to a paycheck is a bigger role on, say, Indiana. I mean, like, here's my thought. I think the whole Randle thing, Randle being ahead of Obi and Obi being stuck here, quote unquote, for 2 years and change, I truly believe that this team, maybe mostly last year and at the beginning of this year, thought like, okay, eventually his time is going to come because we're going to move on from Randle. And now Randle's been playing like this. If there is a change in that opinion on the part of the New York Knicks, I would expect, to the point where it's like Randle may be in our future plans, and I have no idea whether that's the case or not. I don't know. But if that was the case, I would expect that both CAA and the Knicks would be in agreement that like we should, like, it's better for all parties if we move on from Obi, presuming we get proper value. And that's what all this stuff comes down to. It comes down to value. Can you get the value? I don't know if they can. Good comment though. Lunas, what's going on, Lunas? I can't wait for RJ and Obi to come back. I think it'll fix the bench scoring issue big time. They'll miss Obi's scoring, or they miss Obi's scoring. And is this the best legit stretch of Emmanuel Quickley's career? Man, I mean, he had a nice stretch at the end of last season, but that was in meaningless games. I think that's what you mean by legit stretch. Probably. I mean, he's not shooting it great, but even with that, and I know he's had better shooting performances, certainly over the course of his last 2 years, over stretches of games. But on balance, I'd have to say it is. That's a good. I mean, he's a young player who's getting better. So that's great. Sam Garcia's dad. What's going on, Sam Garcia's dad? Sam was at the game tonight. Glad they won. I'm glad for your sake they won, and I'm glad for Sam that they won. Awesome. Jodinho. Became an every episode listener for about a month now. Welcome aboard. I'm glad you're enjoying, and I hope I haven't disappointed you in any way. Glad I subscribed. You guys are great. Thanks for the content and deep dives. # we here. I love it. Thank you for the compliment. That really means a lot to us. Anytime we ever get any super chat, even if it's something yelling at me, we appreciate it. Okay, here we go. My favorite part of every post game. It's what you all came for. Updated stats. The Knicks are still 10th in offense. They are now 9th in defense. Here's a big one. They are tied with Phoenix for the 7th best net rating in the freaking NBA. I harp on this stuff. I harp on it because I believe it matters. Now, context. The top 6 teams in the NBA, which I think minus a team or two are like they're I mean there's some other teams who should be in this group that have had like funky years, but like the top 6 via net rating are all between 5.5 and 4.2. And then there's a major drop off, and the next 2 teams are Phoenix and New York at 2.6. And then behind them are a bunch of teams who are also very, very good and are right there. Dallas 2.2, Denver 2.1, Milwaukee 1.9, and then you get down into the teams who are like in the next tier. Sacramento 1.1, Utah 0.9, Portland 0.9, and then you got, some negatives there. But like to say that there's like a team, there are 6 top teams in terms of overall performance on the year: Boston, Cleveland, Memphis, New Orleans, Brooklyn, Philly. And then to say the Knicks are part of like the next 5 with Phoenix, Dallas, Denver, and Milwaukee. Are the Knicks actually as good as any of those teams when healthy? Of course not. But the fact that the Knicks have the same net rating essentially, or in the same net rating group as those 5, and those 5 teams employ, respectively, Devin Booker, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis fucking Antetokounmpo. The Knicks are in that group with those teams in terms of the stat that matters the most when you're assessing how good an NBA team actually is. Like, that someone deserves praise here. That's praise whoever you want. Someone deserves praise, and it's hard to fault them for too much with that sort of profile. That's all I'm saying. Robert Cross gets us started off with the first post stats update super chat of the show. It's your boy John. How do you see Obi and RJ coming back into the rotation? It feels like a real challenge. I'll hang up and listen. Hashtag 53 wins. I don't think it's a challenge at all. I don't think it's a challenge one bit. I mean, right now, they are pushing Julius Randle over 40 minutes a night. They are pushing Jalen Brunson over 40 minutes a night. They are pushing Emmanuel Quickley to 46 minutes. Excuse me. I thought he was 44. 46 fucking minutes for Emmanuel Quickley in a regulation game. I'm pretty sure that might tie RJ's season high for most minutes in a regulation game by anyone in the NBA this year. I'll look that up afterwards. Pretty sure it does. Grimes, 37 minutes. Like, all of these guys are playing too many minutes. RJ will come back. He will not only replace Evan Fournier's minutes, but he will reduce the minutes of all of these other guys. Because once RJ's back, he mans the second unit along with Quickley. Like, everybody goes down. Quickley's minutes will probably go down the most. But, like, that's not going to be an issue at all. And then, Obi Toppin, I mean, even if he just takes Sims minutes, that's probably what's going to happen. I know a lot of us would rather he take Hartenstein's minutes. It's going to be one of those. And, Sims has been playing whatever it is, 11, 12, 13 minutes a game. It's probably what you're going to get from Obi for a little while. I don't think it's that hard. Might be annoying not to see Sims anymore, but it's not that hard. G-Bo, as much as you maligned him, this team needs RJ 100%. I mean, look, in fairness, I've come around on RJ since I killed him earlier in the year, and I killed him earlier in the year because I truly believed that he was the most detrimental high-volume player in the league for about the first month of the season. I believe that, and I don't think I was necessarily wrong. He completely turned around his year. Completely and totally turned around his year to the point where, for as much as there's a part of me that is still very intrigued by, like, Quickley with the starters, RJ with the bench. Like, the team needs RJ Barrett. There's no doubt about that. And, like, to go against the Quickley with the starters thing, Brunson and Randle are obviously great at what they are great at. Man, there is a sound system driving by in my apartment right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But there is something to, I think, how much the offense gets that much more of a pain in the ass to deal with when you, in addition to Brunson doing Brunson things and Randle doing Randle things, when you have RJ driving, a dozen times a game and just putting all that pressure on the defense, not only with his attempts at the rim, which are getting better and better and better, but with the lobs to Mitch. He helps actualize Mitch. And that's a big thing. Now, if he could take his playmaking up another notch, then we'll really be in business. But I think we're getting there. Yeah, here we go. So the two highest minute totals played in the NBA this season have been in a regulation game have been by Knicks. RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, both at 46 minutes. Grant Williams, 45 minutes is the next closest. But yeah, more proof they need RJ. Forgotten NYC, elite tanking move by Sohan there. Whew. Yeah, I'm not complaining. Not complaining at all. I'll take it. Take the W. Don't give away any W's. Don't feel bad about any W's. Not doing that. Thanks, Forgotten. Appreciate it. Busy with another one. Do you think Brunson's sitting out a few games? You bringing up something we talked about, I think, on the playback, and Benji, again, all the credit in the world to Benji. Benji has like a dozen great points every day between Twitter and the pod and playback. Do we think Brunson sitting out a few games helped IQ's offense get going? Oh, I actually thought you were going a different direction. I thought you were going to say help Brunson kind of recharge a little bit. Did it help Emmanuel Quickley's offense get going? Maybe a little bit. I think the turnaround for him started before Brunson went out, but you might be onto something there. Do you think Julius Randle should do the same thing for one game to get him some rest and to get Obi going? Busy. There is zero chance a healthy Julius Randle is going to sit out a game until we get to the end of the year and they have their playoff spot locked up. And even then, play-in spot, playoff spot, whatever. Even then, I'm not sure. Yeah. Who knows? Robert Cross, first time, long time, John. I would like to note that Sims was instrumental on the defensive end in key spots in the second half. Hashtag 53 wins. He was very good in several key spots. He also had, some moments that were not as good. I think he was very good. He's not getting one of my stars of the game. It's going to be Brunson first. Probably Randle second, despite some of the not so great stuff, and then probably going Quickley third. But Sims would be fourth, probably pretty comfortably. Although Grimes had a nice game too. Jessica, what's going on, Jessica? To be clear, my Gummy's comments are meant to be complimentary. I'm glad you clarified. He's not perfect, far from it, but he's been a weirdo. But he's been a weirdo this season, and I'm here for it. Talking about Tibbs. I think he's done a lot of good things. And again, it's oversimplistic, but sometimes I don't think there's a problem with being overly simplistic. They're tied for the 7th best net rating in the league. I don't know how with a team that maybe these rankings change now, but like preseason, every NBA site, the whole whether the Ringer, ESPN, Bleacher Report, any of these places said that this team did not have a top 40 player on the roster. And they're 7th in net rating. That's I don't know what that is if not proof that they are approaching these games, soundly and well prepared, if nothing else. So yeah, thanks, Jessica. Appreciate that. Star Through Hoops. What's going on, Star Through Hoops? Hey, John, longtime listener. Usually on the playback for the morning drive. Oh, okay, cool. Question. If we do make a trade, do you see Tibbs inserting the player in his very tight rotation? This is a great question. It's a really great question. And the question is contingent. Let me take a step back. I don't believe we're going to have another Cam situation, which was weird at the time and indicative of some very real issues going on behind the scenes and lack of communication and lack of just basic functionality as an organization. I do not believe we will have another situation like that. If they trade for someone and it's a player who ostensibly should be playing rotation minutes, he will play rotation minutes. At least initially, and then maybe if the player is terrible, that changes, but he will play rotation minutes initially. The two big questions are, do they divert from a 9-man rotation, or is there someone currently in the 9-man rotation who either goes out in the trade or goes back to the bench? It is impossible to answer this question right now without knowing what the trade is because, like, again, for instance, none of us want to see Obi Toppin go, and none of us want to see Emmanuel Quickley go. But, like, are there scenarios where I could envision a trade where one of those two players goes out for a player that is more of a win now piece? Of course there are scenarios I could envision. I don't care to go through them at the moment, but, like, is it possible? Yeah, that's possible. So that would allow them to keep the 9-man rotation and make a trade. I actually think that's more likely than them going to a 10-man. I would put them going to a 10-man rotation as the least likely scenario because I just feel like a 9-man is working for them. I feel like it's what Tibbs wants to do. I feel like, again, I've said this before, I feel like it's what every coach prefers to do. But I think the most likely scenario, and if I had to bet right now, it would be close as to whether I would bet on what I'm about to say or I would bet on them making no trade that influences the rotation or just no trade at all. It would be they make a trade and Deuce goes out of the rotation. That would be what I think would be the most likely scenario. They stick with the 9-man. Deuce becomes situational again. And maybe he gets, spot minutes here or there. But that would be my guess. And I think that would be not the team saying we don't believe in Deuce McBride anymore. It would be an acknowledgement that, like, we're going to try to win playoff games this year. Make the playoffs and then win playoff games when we get there. And we don't feel confident going into playoff games with a player on the roster who we're not confident can contribute in any meaningful way on the offensive end. Now, would that be correct of them to assume that? I don't know. He hit a 3 tonight. He hit a 3 in the last game. Like, he's been knocking down threes, and that maybe that's all he does, and maybe that's enough. But again, I'm going through a lot of stuff here. But if you ask me my opinion on that question, that would be my answer. So we'll see what happens. Jonathan, what's going on, Jonathan Chavarez? Thank you for a very generous contribution. I'm the only person that thinks trading Randle is silly. No star plays defense. That's not quite true, but most of them don't play great defense every possession, that's for sure. Or is consistently around the basket like him. Who would we get that is a good all-around player that we wouldn't complain about because it's no defense? I mean, I think okay, if we agree that you're only trading Randle for a star or in a star trade, who are you trading him for? I think that's a valid conversation because there is no obvious trade right now. And that's why, again, this team is going to look to make a trade at some point. We know this team is going to look to make a trade right now because at some point because they can't win a championship as currently constituted. They're not good enough. They don't They don't have that extra gear. They don't have that guy. They need that guy. I think it's going to be either Randle or RJ to go out in that deal. Probably. Although that's not even a guarantee. Because, again, who's to say there isn't the right star that comes along and it costs them every pick, every swap, maybe a Grimes or an IQ, depending on the position that player plays, maybe a Mitch. And then salary flotsam, which gets tougher once Derrick Rose becomes expiring, but Derrick Rose doesn't also need to become expiring. They could pick up the last year if it comes to that. And they would presumably know they would need to do that before making such a trade, unless that trade went down at the draft. But that would require the team acquiring Rose to fully guarantee his contract next year. I'm going off on a tangent. You're not nuts. You're not nuts at all. But I also, like, for as good as Randle is, he's not in the echelon of star offensive players that, I think you need to have on your team to win a title, is what I would say. So how do you get that guy? That's the question. That's the question. Thank you for that. That was really thoughtful and a good thought. Busy, what's going on, Busy? Thank you again. Incredibly generous as always from you. I noticed something about Grimes tonight. He ran off of a Julius Randle screen handoff super hard and pulled up for a three. I'm wondering if he wouldn't benefit from more Reggie Miller-like plays, would change the offense up for a change. Yeah, I'm all for getting. I mean, what I don't know the exact number of shots he took tonight, but whatever it is, it's too few. Grimes took 8 shots in 37 minutes. He took 5 from 3, 5 from behind the arc. Like I've said it, Quentin Grimes needs to shoot 8 threes a game, at least. So if they cannot figure out a way to get him 8 threes a game, I agree with you. Something is wrong. They need to do a better job of that. And maybe some of that tonight was Julius Randle settling for more threes than we probably would have liked him to. He took 8 threes. He wasn't really hitting them. Some of those shots I didn't love, but then again, I sung his praises today. He's hitting a lot of them. He's hitting 36% for the last 5 weeks and change. So, where do you draw the line between when? And I'm not putting all the blame on him. There are other reasons why Quentin Grimes didn't get more shots, but yeah, he needs to shoot more, and designing more plays like that, absolutely, it's very valid. Greg Film Stuff, what's going on, Greg? Thank you. You're incredible here. Randall's been great, but he looks tired. Completely agree. We need RJ back. Yes. Is it safe to say that the bad Jules is gone? I'll answer that in a second. I think he's turned the corner with his decision-making. What star wing would you put on New York to take us to the next level? I say Devin Booker. But you got a lot in that question, man. Randle tonight, 3 assists, 5 turnovers. So this was by far his worst assist turnover game in a little while. I didn't mind his decision-making tonight. To me, this is one of those where if you watch the game, if anything, the biggest egregious one that comes to mind is there was a moment where I think he had a shot under the basket and he pump faked once or twice and then tried to pass it off to Sims, and I think it got deflected out of bounds, and we said on the playback, just go up hard with that, as my wife emerges from her slumber. As far as what star wing would you put on New York to take us to the next level? I mean, there's a lot of star wings that I would put on New York to take us to the next level. I think if you are asking me about to take into consideration how realistic such a move, again, you're asking me to forecast a year or 2 years into the future, what stars might ask out, what teams might be amenable to training their stars. But also my ideal guy. Hold on. I don't want to take too long on this, but I do want to give this a thoughtful response. Donovan Mitchell would look pretty good here. How about that? He's a free agent in 3 years. But no, but that's not ideal actually, because you're dealing with the small backcourt. Booker is a little bit more size, right? So Booker is more ideal than Mitchell. I would agree with that. Although I don't know, I think at this point I might prefer Mitchell as a player, even if I think I might prefer Booker as a fit. Booker's also just perpetually underrated. That's the obvious one. I don't really have another obvious one. I think looking at guys who you might have a chance at. I mean, you probably look at wings in particular. Probably looking at Booker. I mean, I like Jalen Brown. I don't love Jalen Brown. Like the notion that Jalen Brown's the missing piece for this team, I don't know how I feel about that. Jason Tatum, on the other hand, that might be nice. Danny Gardner, what's going on, Danny? Andrew, I factored in Grayson into my hittable face calculations. I think he had a great comment there with the Zach Collins one. It's a good job by you. Robert Cross, is it fair and reasonable to say that RJ is going to come back real strong? If so, will the Knicks win 50 games? My God, you're actually going to make me look up what it would take for them to win 50 games. All right, the Knicks are 21-18, so to win 50 games, they would need to go 29-14. No, Robert, the Knicks are not going to go 29-14. Yeah, I think he's going to come back strong, but I don't know how Andrew texts me they're going to go 9-0 in their next 9. If you know, you know. I don't know. Is there going to, does he need to get used to shooting again with a giant scar on his hand? I don't know. But other than that, I expect him to be fine. Thanks, Robert. Brian Benjamin, what's going on, Brian? If Anthony Weiner can run for office twice, then can we let Julius back in our hearts and minds in New York? He's turning into the guy. I hope. I'm back on him. I didn't think I ever would be. Just being honest. I didn't think I'd ever be back on him. I'm back. Good job by him. Robert Cross with another one. First time, long time, John. Great to have Bungie explain drop coverage on playback. I didn't need it, but the others did. Hashtag 53 wins. Benji, I got to give a shout out. Benji on playback, and thank you, as always, for all of the generous contributions, Robert. Having Benji being able to watch live games with is such a pleasure. He's a better analyst than anybody analyzing NBA games for a living, and we get him to do the playback with us and for pods. So, yeah, shout out to Benji. Kevin with another one. Fire tips. Hate playing the youngest rotation in the NBA and getting into a 6 seed. Hate the way he's developed Emmanuel Quickley and Quentin Grimes on defense. Bring Rambis back. Kevin's being a little facetious there, and I don't mind it one bit. Haitian Ferg, what's higher, Randle's floor or Obi's ceiling? That's a great question. I don't know, man. We saw Randle's. Is Randle's floor what we saw last year? If so, I think it's Obi's ceiling. This is basically asking, do we really believe Randle has truly turned a corner? And that as long as he's playing with a point guard like Jalen Brunson, he has elevated his floor to the degree where, he's he's going to perpetually be like a top 30, 35 guy now from here on in. You're also factoring in Obi. That's a great question, Haitian. I got to tell you, because you're also talking about Obi's ceiling, and I've said it. I don't think Obi's ever going to be like a creation guy, but Right role, right offense, right supporting pieces, right coach. I mean, that dude could be just a devastating force. Um, oh man, I actually think I'm gonna go Obi ceiling. It might seem nuts, but that's where I'm gonna go. Rest of your comment. We're in year 3 of this, and to Randle's credit, he's made things difficult again. Yeah. I love Obi, and I love how Julius is playing right now. It's tough to move either. Yeah, it's just they drafted the kid. They thought they were drafting him into one situation. They ended up drafting him into a completely different situation, and here we are. It's just tough. It's not ideal. Overratedness. Hello, John. I haven't been able to keep up with the Knicks as much this season. It's great to hear from you, though. I missed you. You were here a lot last year. Hello from Spain. I like this version of the team, but about the depth, is the lack of depth solvable under Tibbs? Yeah, of course it's solvable under Tibbs. Tibbs plays guys he trusts. It's that simple. And there's no one that's out of the rotation right now that I look at and be like, oh, Tibbs should be trusting that player more. It's what Jeff Van Gundy says anytime he ever goes on a pod, or oftentimes when he's on a broadcast. What's your talent? What talent do you have on your roster? Like, it's very clear they have some very real talent on this roster, including within some of the young players. And then with some other guys, it's not as clear. So, yeah, you get more talent, getting guys healthy. Yeah. That's what it comes down to. Busy with another one. Brunson's impact between the ears has been big for Julius Randle. Completely agree. Massive impact. Totally. How many times in the past has Randle been self-aware enough to critique himself to the media? It's not only that he did do that, and good job by him for doing that. It's also easier to do after a win, if we're being fair. But like, with the exception of the couple of times where the Spurs made sure that the ball was not going to end up in Jalen Brunson's hands, this was another game where Julius Randle, I think for the most part, deferred to Brunson down the stretch. Now, did Julius Randle take a couple shots, maybe not so great shots, missed a pass or two? Yes, but like, whenever Brunson got the chance to run the offense down the stretch, he did. And Julius Randle was like setting screens for him, getting switches for him. Like, that's a sign of maturity as well. So, and you know what the funny thing is? I bet he wouldn't look at it in that way. He would just look at it as like, well, you got me a guy I could run with now. And maybe he's not wrong. EB, what's going on, EB? Thanks for the generous contribution. We won, but it feels like a loss to beat this tank team by 3. Yeah, I'll disagree there. In this NBA season, like, here's the thing. You know why I disagree? Because I'm looking at the standings, and I'm seeing Orlando, 14 wins, Charlotte, 10 wins, Detroit, 10 wins, Houston, 10 wins, San Antonio, 12 wins. I don't really want to put Oklahoma City in this category because they have one of the best players in the game, but like, I just rattled off 56 wins. All of those 56 wins did not come against the other 5 teams, or the other 4 teams, I guess, in that group. There's all of those tanking teams have at least one, and I'm pretty sure have multiple wins against good teams. And I'm not talking about good teams like missing good players, like just good, solid wins against good, solid NBA teams. You do not feel bad when you get a win in the NBA this year, against anybody. Not yet, at least. Requiem Gaming with another one. Thank you, Alex. I can't let us end the stream without a Cam comment. Yeah, I hope they find him a home. That's all. Danny Gardner with another one. I keep seeing people say this felt like a loss. It is hard to win NBA games. Thank you. The Celtics lost by 35 to Oklahoma City without SGA. Thank you. Go. You want to feel good about your life choices? Go look on Celtics Twitter the last 24 hours. Some of the complaints that they're making about their coach, who's like a legitimate coach of the year candidate right now, and their second best player, who's going to make an all-star team. Go look at some of that shit. Anyway, you're not going to have it every night. Take the wins when they come, especially for the Knicks. Like if we watched a Knicks team that went out there and they just didn't give a shit and they dogged it, and they or there was some of the crazy, really infuriating Tibbs stuff from earlier in the year with the lack of adjustments and just complete confusion on defense. I would say just bad offensive process, but we really haven't seen bad offensive process all year, to be fair. But any of those sorts of things, I'd be okay, fine. The team, they played pretty well. The Knicks didn't play that well. They didn't execute that well. But they that does happen. Thank you, Danny. I really appreciate this comment. I appreciate all your comments. Alex with one more. Jalen Brunson for Speaker of the House. I'll leave that. That's a good one, Alex. Thank you. Haitian Ferg responding to Jessica. I will personally find Tibbs a weed guy. We have gone. I feel like Bill Simmons. Yep, these are my listeners. He's not perfect at all, but the best coach we've had since Mike Woodson. He's my coach, hater to love it. Yeah, it would be so typical of me to end the pod by singing Tibbs praises. He is. Let's just take it segment by segment. Is he perfect? No, I agree with you there. Is he the best coach they've had since Woodson? I don't think there's really any argument about that he's the best coach they've had since Woodson. And I would argue that there's a nice discussion to be had about who's a better coach, him or Woodson. And I think there's another argument to be had about whether him or Woodson, if there's anybody else who's in their category, going back to Van Gundy. And that includes Mike D'Antoni, who's a hell of an NBA coach. And this situation was not great for him. But it's funny, and this is the thing I always go back to. It's funny how many good coaches the Knicks just so happen to be a bad situation for. It is so funny about that, how that seems to happen. Not this guy, go. SB Gorilla, what's going on, SB? Damian, how are you? John, you have to agree with me on this. I truly believe it's time to play Sims over Isaiah Hartenstein. At this point, Sims is giving us more. What do you think? We should get decent value for iHeart. Oh, man. I don't know if this is the sort of hill that I'm willing to die on, but because yes, I agree with you. Sims, on balance, has looked better. I think he's a better fit for what they do on both ends of the floor. Hartenstein is not a good fit for what they do at both ends of the floor. Man. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree, but at the same time, and you could say this is just because I'm old and I'm tired and I really need to choose my battles wisely now. This doesn't feel like the type of thing where if Sims goes out of the rotation and Hartenstein is still in there, that at least initially, I'm probably not going to get on here and rant and rave about it. Now, if Hartenstein plays poorly and they're it contributes to them losing games, that may change, but I don't know if I'm impassioned enough to go crazy about it right now. If I'm just being frank, but I don't disagree at all with what you're saying. And I'd be very curious to see if they get something for him. I don't think they're getting anything more than a second round pick if they just move his salary. We'll see. Sean Harris, what's going on, Sean? Hart can go. Package him with the non-rotation guys and picks for a star wing. Easier said than done, my man. For the bench, DeRozan. And then he plays the whole fourth. The bench is as good as the starters. Yeah, I don't know if you're getting that guy who made the All-NBA second team like last year to come here and happily come off the bench. I don't know about that one. I'm also not sure I'm giving up a whole bunch of picks for a guy who is I don't know how old DeMar DeRozan is, but he's old and he's going to be eligible for an extension very soon, and he's going to want to make some money into his late 30s. Don't think that's where I'm at right now. Thank you, Sean, though. I appreciate that. Robert Cross with another one. First time, long time. John, what's the highest point you think this team may achieve this year? Hashtag 53 wins. What will be the highest point? This is a good way to put me on the spot. Fuck it. I think they'll win a home playoff game. Not play-in game. They may have to win a play-in game to get to a home playoff game. I think they will win a home playoff game. There you go. Something, by the way, they have done twice since 2013. Sean Ford, John Collins, dark horse in the hittable face race. It does have kind of a hittable face. I'm gonna have to do some rankings. Not nearly as good as Zach Collins or Grayson Allen, though. Those are elite. All righty. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Please follow the Knicks Film School on social media, on all of your social media things, at Knicks Film School, SKOOL, of course. We have a pod coming out for Friday, but I think we're going to be doing a little something different. So stay tuned for that. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying a little something different.
Good, man. Okay.
Not my first rodeo.
And yet, sometimes you reveal stuff without realizing that you reveal stuff. So.
Anyway, yeah. And then, of course, I'll be back for the post game on Friday. And shout out again to the Patreon pod that me and Benji are going to record tomorrow. That should be fun. So if you're not subscribed to the KFS patron, $7 a month gets you a bonus podcast every week. So it's like it's a cup of coffee. You could do better than a cup of coffee, right?
I think you get more out of that what you would have spent on the cup of coffee with us than you would at the cup of coffee.
There's some fancy schmancy coffee place down the block, literally down the block from us, that has some kind of I don't know, it's like a maple something or other latte. It is very good, and it does cost I don't know if it's $7. It's like $5 and change or $6.
Mm-hmm. Well, Starbucks, I believe,
Venti Frap is
Venti or Grande is like $7 right now. Yeah, that's someone who that's our go-to is quick cup. Let's grab a quick Starbucks and then, we're good for the night.
I have not allowed myself to have a Frappuccino since I believe I was in high school.
Okay.
Because I just can't justify it.
Yeah, I'm a Grande white mocha guy. That's me.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've now gotten into a far too extensive coffee discussion. Thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back with more fun and games very soon. Peace out.
Beats a pasta discussion, I guess. Although the pasta discussion was good because that lasted the entire back half of the pod.
I prefer the coffee discussion to the pasta discussion.
To each his own. Bye, everybody.
Peace.